Does Hamas have the remaining Israeli hostages? As Israel and Hamas try to hammer out a mediated ceasefire deal, Israeli officials are seeking the release of the remaining hostages held in Gaza. But the kicker is this: they don't actually know how many of them are alive. Hamas, it seems, does not have 40 hostages needed for the first round of a potential ceasefire deal. Hamas has indicated that it is currently unable to identify and track them down. And this, you see, has raised fears that more hostages may be dead than what is publicly known. And this, by the way, comes as talks between Hamas and Israel have stalled amid disagreements over the permanency of a ceasefire, the return of displaced Palestinians to northern Gaza, and other issues. Senior Israeli officials said Israel had been relayed Hamas's claim. Hamas says they have informed the mediators about this. The team of international mediators, which includes Qatar and Egypt, had laid out a framework, basically, that would pause fighting in Gaza for 6 weeks. The condition would be the release of 40 remaining hostages by Hamas. And in exchange, Israel would release hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. But with Hamas's latest claim, that ceasefire proposal seems at risk of getting stalled further. Israeli officials believe there are about 130 hostages remaining in Gaza. Israeli intelligence officers have concluded that at least 30 of those have died in captivity. According to reports, in fact, Hamas's inability to tell Israel which hostages would be released alive is a major obstacle in the talks. But the development came days after Israeli military said it had recovered the body of an Israeli hostage who, like around 240 others, was abducted during the Hamas-led October 7 attack. Now, Israel is reportedly pushing for Hamas to fill out the initial release with younger male hostages, including soldiers taken during the October 7 attack by Hamas on Israel. Throughout the months of negotiations, Israel has repeatedly asked for a list of the hostages. Israel has inquired about their conditions. But Hamas has argued that it needs a break in the fighting to be able to track and gather down the hostages. The majority of the almost 100 hostages who remain alive are believed to be male IDF soldiers or men of military reserve age. Experts believe that Hamas will try to use them in later phases to try to negotiate more significant concessions, including more high-level prisoners and a permanent end to the war. Reports say that more than 250 hostages who were captured have been spread out among different factions of Hamas, as well as other militant groups and gangs. Hamas claims that Israeli bombing has killed a number of the hostages and that its continuing campaign is threatening those still alive. But Israel maintains that they do not strike in places where they know there may be hostages. Israel has accused Hamas of carrying out psychological torment on the hostage families. In the 6 months of war, the hostage families have become a political force in Israel, staging mass protests to demand more to be done to free their loved ones. Netanyahu is under intense pressure from the families, to say the least, to bring them home. But for the Hamas, the hostages are the primary bargaining chip. In talks that have dragged on for weeks, if Hamas cannot locate them, the temporary truce talks will likely remain at a deadlock. And if they are dead, it could give Netanyahu the incentive to take an even more brutal approach as far as the war is concerned. A war between Iran and Israel is imminent. So says the U.S. intelligence. A report has warned that an attack on Israeli infrastructure by Iran or its proxies is imminent. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said Israel will strike whoever tries to harm it. Earlier today, He also said that his government is preparing to meet the security needs of Israel, both in defense and attack. The global oil market is already preparing for the worst. Brent crude has spiked more than 1% to trade above $90 a barrel. German airline Lufthansa has suspended flights to Tehran. Russia has warned its citizens to refrain from traveling to Israel. The U.S. Central Command Chief, Michael Kurilla, landed in Israel today to hold emergency talks with the Israeli Defense Minister, Yoav Gallant. The U.S. Middle East envoy has called on foreign ministers of Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar and Iraq to talk to Iran and to try and lower tensions in the region. It is the 11th of April 2024. It's the day after Eid in West Asia and the region is on high alert. The prevailing sense is that Iran may attack Israel any moment now. Israel has already been scrambling navigational signals over Tel Aviv. It also temporarily jammed GPS signals over Tel Aviv. The big question here is, 6 months into the Gaza war, is the world staring at a full-blown Iran-Israel war? And is the next West Asia war imminent? That's the question. The U.S. has already made clear which side it will be fighting on. On Wednesday, the U.S. President Joe Biden said, let me say it again, ironclad, we are going to do all we can to protect Israel's security. In short, the U.S. is definitely getting dragged into this war whose build-up is too visible to ignore. Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has vowed to punish Iran. Here's his post on the platform X. Let me just read it out for you. When the Zionist regime attacks an Iranian consulate in Syria, it is as if it has attacked Iranian soil. That malicious regime has made a wrong move. It should be punished, and it will be punished. That attack was the trigger. That attack was what many experts termed as the turning point in the war. We will recap that in a bit. You see, in the last few days, we have seen reports detailing all possible scenarios. What kind of attack are we looking at? Iran's Joint Chief of Staff, Mohammad Bagheri, has said, and I'm quoting here, the time, type, plan of the operation will be decided in a way that makes Israel regret what it did. What will be Iran's target? Yahya Rahim Safavi, who is one of the senior advisors to Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, said, and I'm quoting again, the embassies of the Zionist regime are no longer safe. As I speak, Israel has temporarily closed down 28 Israeli embassies and consulates. Will it be a missile strike? Iran's news agency ISNA was recently seen showing off Iran's firepower. It laid out an infographic detailing the range and speed of Iranian missiles. We told you about this. Iran and Israel are around 1.7 thousand kilometers away. Between them are Iraq and Jordan. Will Iran, in the heart of Israel, using high-precision missiles, hit it? What happens if an Israeli city is targeted? In fact, according to reports, Israel recently scrambled navigational signals over Tel Aviv in preparation for a potential attack. GPS signals were jammed. Drivers of radio taxis found their navigation systems going off, or haywire, many commuters could not make payments for the cashless public transport system. The IDF spokesperson later said, "We are aware that these disruptions cause inconveniences, but it is a vital and necessary tool in our defense capabilities." In the Gaza war, the mood has been offensive. Sure, there were rockets being fired towards Israel, but never before did Israel feel it was necessary to jam the GPS of its startup city. The city also has offices of multinational companies, also the headquarters of the Israeli military. Is Israel preparing for an attack on Tel Aviv? Speaking at an F-15 base earlier today, Netanyahu said Israel will strike anyone who tries to harm it.
I said we are in challenging times. We are in the midst of the war in Gaza, which continues in full force. At the same time, we continue our unceasing efforts to return our hostages. But we are also preparing for scenarios of challenges in other arenas. And we establish a simple principle. Whoever hurts us, we hurt him. We are preparing to meet the security needs of the state of Israel, both in defense and in attack. And the people of Israel trust you. And may we all have great success.
In fact, earlier this week, Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, said that Israel is ready for, quote-unquote, any situation that may develop vis-a-vis Iran. The IDF has paused leave for combat units. It has withdrawn troops from southern Gaza. Is it possible preparation for a new front with Iran? How would Israel react if Iran were to strike the country? Israel is reportedly already preparing to target Iran's nuclear facilities and other key infrastructure. Air drills are already being conducted. But would Iran really attack Israel is the question. I know there is that US intel warning, but while it says that an attack is imminent, it also mentions how it could either be an Iranian attack or an attack by Iranian proxies. You see, Iran-backed Hezbollah has been trading fire with Israel since the start of the war in Gaza. The Houthis have waged another war at sea. They have been targeting commercial ships in a display of support for Hamas. The Houthis have also been attacking American and British warships. Could the Houthis or the Hezbollah be the ones firing that imminent missile towards Israel? Experts say it is no longer a question of if such an attack would take place, it's a question of when. And from where I am sitting, all the developments tend to hint that an escalation will arrive sooner than later. And let's just recap what led to this moment. On the 1st of April, there was a drone attack on the Iranian consulate in Damascus. 11 people were killed. Among them was General Mohammad Reza Zahedi. He managed the Quds force in Syria and Lebanon. General Zahedi was the highest-ranking Iranian military official to be killed since General Qasem Soleimani, who was assassinated in Baghdad by the US in the year 2020. And what about General Zahedi? Who killed him? Syria and Iran are pointing at Israel. Israel, on its part, has neither publicly acknowledged nor denied its role in the drone attack. Iran has made up its mind. Tehran will not be sitting still. Iran's ambassador to Syria has said that his country's response to the strike would be, quote-unquote, at the same magnitude and harshness. Long story short, are we staring at an imminent war? Is this the next West Asia war? After multiple deaths of babies and adults due to violent dogs in India, the government had published a list of 23 dog breeds. The list had deemed these breeds dangerous to human lives. So the centre called for a ban on their selling and breeding. But not everybody is on board. The Karnataka High Court has quashed the list. The judgment says that none of the stakeholders, especially pet owners, were consulted in the process. You see, a professional dog handler and the owner of a Rottweiler had filed a joint petition. They alleged that the circular was highly arbitrary and exhibited discrimination, and that the centre failed to consult pet owners and relevant organizations. Now the court has ruled in their favor. However, it has said that it could revise the circular after discussion with experts, including organizations certifying dog breeds and people for the ethical treatment of animals. That's PETA. Which dog breeds are on this list of ferocious dogs, so-called ferocious dogs? Pit Bull Terrier, Tosa Inu, American Staffordshire Terrier, Fila Brasileiro, Dogo Argentino, American Bulldog, Boerboel Kangal, Central Asian Shepherd Dog, Caucasian Shepherd Dog, South Russian Shepherd Dog, Tonjak, Sarplannak, Japanese Tosa, Akita, Mastiffs, Terriers, Rhodesian Ridgeback, Wolf Dogs, Canario, Agbash Dog, Moscow Guard Dog, Cane Corso, Ban Dog, and Rottweiler. Yet these many dog breeds are now banned in India. What happens to people who own them? They have been asked to sterilize their pets so that they do not procreate. In 2022 to 23, the Municipal Corporation of Delhi issued 8,159 licenses for dogs, 370 of them for Rottweilers and 443 for other ferocious ones. In 2023 to 24, 5,370 licenses were issued, 243 were for Rottweilers, 258 for other banned breeds. So you see, there are 800 banned dogs in Delhi alone. What happens to them is the question.